Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the Technical Assistance webinar for the Literacy Coaches and Reading Specialists Educator Training, or LCRS-ET, Requests for Applications, or RFA. Before we begin, I have a few housekeeping details to share with you. All webinar participants are placed on mute. Please do try to hold your questions until the end of the webinar, as the presentation will address many of your questions. The question and answer session will occur toward the end of the webinar. But at any time, please submit your questions in the Q&A and they will be addressed at the end of the webinar. These PowerPoint slides that we are going over today with notes will be available on the California Department of Education or CDE LCRS-ET program RFA webpage. And please note that all information covered in the slides is also in the RFA. This technical assistance webinar is provided by the Professional Learning Support Division at the CDE. My name is Jennifer Howarder, and I am an Education Programs Consultant in the Professional Learning Innovations Office. And I am joined today by Julia Agostinelli, the Education Administrator for the Professional Learning Innovations Office. I will start by providing information about the state statute authorizing the LCRS-ET grants. Assembly Bill 181 provided $25 million for the first county office lead, supporting the first two cohorts. Senate Bill 114 gave that first county office lead an additional $2 million for this task. AB 121 is the authorizing legislation for this particular competition, supporting the third cohort. AB 121, Section 51, Chapter 8 of 2025 authorized $15 million to the LCRS-ET grant program. The State Superintendent of Public Instruction, or the SSPI, subject to the approval of the State Board of Education, or SBE, will select a County Office of Education, or COE, or a consortium of COEs with expertise in both literacy instruction and multilingual education. Links to the legislation are available through the RFA as well as on the CDE website. This COE will provide training for educators to become literacy coaches and dual language literacy coaches, provide credentialing opportunities for educators to earn a reading and literacy specialist credential, added authorization, or bilingual authorization, work with professional development providers, including but not limited to the California Reading and Literature Project, or the CRLP, the California Writing Project, or the CWP, and other experts specializing in multilingual education. The SSPI shall prioritize applicants with demonstrated success in improving literacy instruction and outcomes through dual language immersion and other programs for multilingual learners through professional learning, or PL, based on the English Language Arts English Language Development Framework, or ELA/ELD framework, the English Learner, or EL roadmap, and the Literacy roadmap, especially for EL students and other high-need pupil groups, and for those planning on partnering with institutions of higher education, or IHEs, with demonstrated success in providing statewide PL for expert literacy practice for multilingual learners. AB 121 also authorized $200 million as a direct allocation of funds to eligible sites within local educational agencies, or LEAs, to develop school literacy programs, including dual language immersion and other programs for multilingual learners, employ and develop literacy coaches and specialists, and develop and implement interventions for pupils in need of targeted literacy support, including EL students. These funds were issued to LEAs in December of 2025. This LCRS-ET grantee will support the LEAs that received these funds as part of this third cohort. AB 121 requires the selected COE to contract with an independent evaluator for $1 million. The American Institutes for Research, or AIR, is evaluating the first two cohorts, and the selected COE should contract with AIR to continue this evaluation work. Funds appropriated for this purpose are available for encumbrance through June 30 of 2029. The project period is from June 2026 to June 30, 2029. Note that LEAs that participate in activities offered by the grantee may also participate in the Reading and Literacy Supplementary Authorization Incentive Grant Program offered by the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing, or the Commission. If you would like more information, links to all resources referenced in this presentation are available in the RFA. There will be one successful lead applicant. We encourage COEs to apply in a consortium. One grant of $15 million will be awarded for a grant period from June 2026 through June 30 of 2029. The deadline to submit an application is February 23rd, 2026 before 4 p.m. Please leave yourself plenty of time to address any technical issues that arise. So let's talk about the grant eligibility requirements. As stated, the CDE shall give priority and points to applicants that propose partnerships with an institution of higher education or a consortium with IHEs with demonstrated success in providing statewide PL for expert literacy practice for multilingual learners. COEs may also partner as a consortium with other COEs in the development of the proposal and throughout the duration of the grant period. If a consortium of COEs submits an application, one COE must be identified as the lead applicants. The next couple of slides will provide a bit more information on partnerships and consortia. The CDE shall prioritize and award points to applicants that propose partnerships with an IHE or a consortium of IHEs that has demonstrated success in providing statewide PL for expert literacy practice for multilingual learners. The lead applicant should work with IHEs, especially those that partner with the CRLP and the CWP, that can support educators in obtaining the reading and literacy added authorization, bilingual authorization, and/or specialist credential accredited by the Commission. COEs may also partner as a consortium with other COEs in the development of their proposal and throughout the duration of the grant period. If a consortium of COEs submits an application, one COE must be identified as the lead applicant. As mentioned, the grantee will support the local educational agencies that received funds from the $200 million allocation authorized in Assembly Bill 121. This support comes in the form of professional learning opportunities. Therefore, an eligible applicant will be able to demonstrate the following abilities and capacities. So we have demonstrated expertise in both literacy instruction and multilingual education, including developing school literacy programs, including dual language immersion and other programs for multilingual learners, preparing and providing PL for literacy coaches and dual language coaches and reading and bilingual education specialists, preparing and providing PL and implementing evidence-based literacy instruction and interventions aligned with the ELA/ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap, including implementation of dual language acquisition and ELD programs, culturally sustaining curriculum and instruction, the use of data to support effective instruction, and the use of data to identify and support all students, including multilingual learners and struggling pupils. Also implementing evidence-based family literacy initiatives. Additionally, all aspects of this project must be aligned to the ELA/ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap. Applicants will be required to cite their evidence and provide a works cited page. It's important that this grant aligns its work with California guidance, standards, and frameworks, as well as other state literacy initiatives to provide a comprehensive and aligned approach to literacy for California's educators and students. So the work of the LCRS ET grant program will align with the ELA/ELD framework, the EL roadmap, the literacy roadmap and literacy content blocks, the literacy standards and teaching performance expectations, or the TPEs, the preschool through third grade learning progressions for language and literacy developments, screening for risk of reading difficulties, the California Dyslexia Guidelines, improving education for multilingual and EL students, California Practitioner's Guide for educating EL students with disabilities, the California Comprehensive State Literacy Plan, or the SLP, the Golden State Literacy Plan, Multi-Tiered Systems of Support, or MTSS, the Quality Professional Learning Standards, or QPLS, and statewide literacy initiatives. I am going to take a few moments to point out a few documents in particular that will be of great importance to this grant. As mentioned, the work of the LCRS-CT grant will align with the guidance of the English Language Arts English Language Development, or ELA/ELD, framework. So PL through the LCRS-CT grant program should be aligned to the framework, including the 5 key themes of meaning making, language development, effective expression, content knowledge, and foundational skills. Additionally, the grant program will also align with all 3 parts of the California English Language Development Standards, including interacting in meaningful ways, learning how English works, and using foundational literacy skills. Professional learning should also be aligned to the EL roadmap. The EL roadmap provides guidance to LEAs on welcoming, understanding, and educating the diverse population of students who are English learners attending California public schools. The principles guiding the EL roadmap are Principle 1, assets-oriented and needs-responsive schools; Principle 2, intellectual quality of instruction and meaningful access; Principle 3, system conditions that support effectiveness; Principle 4, alignment and articulation within and across systems. Another foundational document for this project is the Literacy Roadmap and its accompanying content blocks. So the Literacy Roadmap is designed to help educators apply the ELA/ELD framework to classroom instruction, navigate the resources and professional learning opportunities available to implement effective literacy instruction, and improve literacy outcomes for all students with a focus on equity. The literacy content blocks are a central element of the Literacy Roadmap. They are intended to guide literacy instruction based on local context and students' identified assets and assessed needs. The literacy standards and TPEs encompass the study of effective means of teaching literacy across all disciplines. They are rooted in the ELA and literacy standards, the ELD standards, and the ELA/ELD framework. The TPEs are grounded in universal design for learning and assets-based pedagogies, and also incorporate elements of the California Comprehensive SLP. Again, all of the guidance and documents referenced in this RFA are reflected within the teaching performance expectations for literacy, and as such, the TPEs should be considered a foundational resource for all applicants. And once more, the ELA/ELD framework, EL roadmap, literacy roadmap, and the commission standards and TPEs should guide all professional learning for this project. There are several resources available to support all students, including those with reading difficulties and multilingual learners and EL students. So first, we have the Screening for Risk of Reading Difficulties, which allows for early identification and intervention of reading difficulties, including dyslexia, for students in kindergarten to grade 2. The California Dyslexia Guidelines, which provides practical resources for identifying and educating students who are struggling academically because they cannot read. The Improving Education for Multilingual and EL Students, which supports educators in designing, implementing, and enhancing educational programs for multilingual and EL students. The California Practitioner's Guide for Educating EL Students with Disabilities, which provides guidance to teachers and specialists to help them appropriately identify and support EL students with disabilities, also known as dually identified students. The project should also, as a whole, center multilingual learners and EL students. This includes dual language learners, EL students including newcomer EL students and long-term EL students, reclassified fluent English proficients, initially fluent English proficient, and native English speakers. The work of the LCRS-ET grant program will also align with and support LEAs with MTSS. So MTSS is an integrated comprehensive framework that focuses on the California Common Core State Standards, or the CCSS, core instruction, differentiated learning, student-centered learning, individualized students' needs, and the alignment of systems necessary for all students' academic, behavioral, and social success. All of the guidance that we have discussed are supports for effective Tier 1 instruction. Families also are integral to student literacy development and achievement. The California Family Engagement Framework and accompanying toolkit provide direction for the grantee in working with families and communities to plan, implement, and evaluate family engagement practices. Culturally sustaining pedagogies require educators to be aware of classroom materials, structure, and culture to ensure a safe and relevant learning environments. The guidance documents, the CDE's EL roadmap, and Improving Education for Multilingual and EL Students provide insight on supporting multilingual students in a culturally sustaining way. Again, these resources are available in the RFA as well as on the CDE website. To ensure teachers and leaders are well prepared, care should be taken to ensure that PL opportunities are aligned to the CDE's Quality Professional Learning Standards, or the QPLS. The QPLS serve as a foundation for the content, processes, and conditions essential to all educator PL over time, which leads to improved educator knowledge, skills, and dispositions. The QPLS consists of 7 interdependent standards, which are number 1, rooted in student and educator needs demonstrated through data, focused on content and pedagogy, designed to ensure equitable outcomes, designed and structured to be ongoing, intensive, and embedded in practice, collaborative with an emphasis on shared accountability, supported by adequate resources, and coherent and aligned with other standards, policies, and programs. PL through the LCRS-ET grant must prepare educators and administrators to effectively collect, analyze, and respond to student performance data. LEAs should be prepared to implement a full range of assessment cycles, including the use of formative assessments. In response to the data, a structured MTSS should be in place with a clearly defining evidence-based Tier 2 interventions and Tier 3 systems for intensifying interventions with data-based individualization. The SSPI leads a group of LCRS schools in a cohort to move the needle on test scores as part of his push to ensure that every California student learns to read by 3rd grade. A goal of this work and the LCRS-ET is the alignment of literacy initiatives and guidance across the states. Additionally, AB 121 requires resources and training for literacy developed as part of this grant to be aligned to other state and federally funded literacy initiatives to reduce duplication of effort. The grantee shall coordinate with other state literacy initiatives, including but not limited to the following: the LCRS-ET grant for LCRS cohorts 1 and 2, the California Subject Matter Projects, 21st Century California School Leadership Academy, the Comprehensive Literacy State Development Grants, the Educator Workforce Investment Grant Effective Language Acquisition, the California Dyslexia Initiative, the Reading Instruction and Intervention Grants, the Bilingual Teacher Professional Development Program, and the California Collaborative for Educational Excellence Literacy Network. Now, let's transition to talking about the program requirements, goals, and responsibilities. So this project can be summarized in 6 major components: leadership, development, collaboration and communication, alignments, implementation and expansion, and evaluation. Let's start with leadership. So the grantee will work closely with the CDE and project partners over the course of this grant. This includes aligning the work closely with the support offered for the first 2 cohorts of LCRS by the county office lead for that project to ensure coherence over all 3 cohorts. The grantee will participate in an advisory committee composed of COE and CDE staff and led by the CDE in monthly virtual meetings to review current and upcoming grant activities. All grant activities will be subject to prior approval by the CDE. Development is next. The grantee will have at least 2 virtual convenings of literacy coaches, dual language literacy coaches, reading specialists, administrators, classroom teachers, paraprofessionals, interventionists, and other staff as identified per year from the 3rd cohort of LCRS sites. Remember again that all PL offered must be aligned to the ELA-ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap. They will also provide support and technical assistance, or TA, to LCRS sites in developing and implementing site literacy plans, including conducting a needs assessment and root cause analysis. These site literacy plans in PL must be grounded, once again, in the ELA/ELD framework, the EL roadmap, and the literacy roadmap, supporting multilingual learners, students with reading difficulties, and other identified student groups, as well as ELD, dual language immersion, and other programs for EL students and/or multilingual learners. These literacy plans must be living documents revisited regularly by the sites with technical assistance support from the grantee to adopt a model of continuous improvement throughout the grant. They will also provide opportunities for educators to earn a reading specialist credential, reading and literacy added authorization, and/or bilingual authorization. A grantee who proposes partnership with an IHE or a consortium of IHEs should work with them to perform this task. Also offer additional opportunities for educators interested in PL beyond the base offerings from the grantee, and the grantee should work with additional PL providers approved by the CDE in order to offer these opportunities. Next is collaboration and communication. So the grantee will meet monthly with the advisory committee to review work and collaborate on next steps, including aligning and coordinating the supports offered to the first two cohorts of LCRS. Facilitate meetings among the LEAs across the state that received LCRS funds in the third cohort. Collaborate with partner agencies such as IHEs, CRLP, CWP, other CUEs, other literacy initiatives, etc., and use these partnerships to host annual events, including but not limited to statewide panel discussions, literacy conferences, webinars, and other virtual learning opportunities aligned to the ELA/ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap. A portion of these events should be available statewide to all LEAs, including those not receiving LCRS funds. A critical aspect of this grantee's work will be to incentivize LEAs that receive LCRS funds to participate in the activities led by the grantee. This includes hosting PL and communities of practice on a frequent basis and in response to LEA needs, such as communities of practice focusing on the needs of rural LEAs and specific offerings for dual language immersion sites aligned to the ELA/ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap. Providing opportunities for the LEAs to share their work with each other and gather feedback from the LEAs to inform offered PL and resources. And all topics for PL, and once again, must align to the ELA/ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap, and should include specific training for administrators, coach training series, including for coaches at dual language immersion sites, TA for site literacy teams focused on the Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle, family and community engagement, supports for multilingual learners, including with reading difficulties and other identified student populations, implementation of California guidance documents, including the ELA/ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap, as well as any other topic identified as necessary by the LEAs, all of which will support diverse learners, including early learners, multilingual learners, pupils with disabilities, and pupils with dyslexia. The grantee will also incentivize LEAs to participate by offering additional opportunities to those that participate. This should include providing funding for participating educators to pursue a reading and literacy added authorization, a reading and literacy leadership specialist credential, or a bilingual authorization. The grantee will also provide regular communications on grant work to update all educational partners on their activities. This will include media releases, newsletters, conference presentations, and regular work with AIR to review data collected and discuss best practices for dissemination. This grant is a major focus of the SSPI, so it will be important to communicate your progress and successes to all relevant educational partners. As we discussed, alignment is critical to this project. So the grantee will support each required element of the LCRS-CT grants. PL, once again, will be aligned to the ELA/ELD framework, the EL roadmap, literacy roadmap, and the Commission's literacy TPEs, the standards for literacy instruction in the state's teacher education programs to inform the PL for both literacy coaches, dual language literacy coaches, and reading specialists. A link to the approved literacy standards and TPEs can be found in the RFA. And once again, all PL must be aligned to the ELA ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap. Remember that you will be asked to upload a works cited page as part of this application. The Commission has information on the added authorization, bilingual authorization, and specialist credential that a reading specialist can earn. Offered PL should be aligned to these added authorizations and specialist credential. And as mentioned, if you choose to work with an IHE, we encourage you to use that partnership to help more educators obtain these added authorizations and/or specialist credential. So for more information, you can check out these particular authorizations and credential. We have the Reading and Literacy Added Authorization, or the CL 812, the Bilingual Added Authorization, or the CL 628B, and the Reading and Literacy Leadership Specialist Credential, CL 537. Next is implementation and expansion. So the grantee will develop and share PL and support resources and materials aligned to the ELA ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap across the state with all sites that have received the LCRS allocation, including differentiated PL and support to meet the needs of the local context, such as small rural schools and dual language schools. Incentivize all LEAs that receive LCRS funds to participate in the PL and adopt the resources developed through this grant program by offering opportunities for educators to participate in additional PL programs and/or earning a specialist credential, added authorization, or bilingual authorization. Expand upon existing structures to ensure resources created through the grant are available free of charge after the grant's completion. Provide PL and TA on developing and implementing site literacy plans informed by a literacy needs assessment and root cause analysis, as well as including specific supports and/or goals for all students, with particular attention to students with reading difficulties, including multilingual learners with reading difficulties. This literacy plan should be revisited frequently, following a model of continuous improvement to encourage implementation and sustainability. Also, supporting teachers with PL on providing best first instruction for all students, including multilingual learners and students with reading difficulties, along with collaboratively collecting and analyzing student data, making instructional adjustments, identifying students needing interventions, and providing those interventions promptly, and monitoring ongoing student progress. All PL must be aligned to the ELA ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap. As well, provide PL opportunities to urban, suburban, and rural settings, differentiated to meet the needs of local communities and diverse student populations. And finally, evaluation. So as part of the LCRS-ET program, the grantee will be required in consultation with and subject to the approval of the SBE and the SSPI to contract with the independent evaluator of the first two cohorts, AIR, for $1 million. The evaluation will include, but is not limited to, the following: how funds were used to employ literacy coaches, dual language literacy coaches, and reading and literacy specialists; how funds were used to develop and implement school literacy programs, including ELD and dual language immersion programs, and other programs for multilingual learners, as well as including assessment and ongoing monitoring of student performance, provision of needed interventions, and coaching of classroom teachers. As well, how expenditures impacted students' literacy achievement, including for pupil groups; how the LEAs plan to continue to fund literacy coaches, dual language literacy coaches, and reading and literacy specialists past the award period; and how the offerings developed and provided by the grantee impacted the preparation and PL of literacy coaches, dual language literacy coaches, and reading and literacy specialists, including but not limited to the literacy knowledge and leadership skills. To support the evaluation, the grantee will collect and monitor data to ensure PL project goals are being met, directly impact classroom instruction that results in improved student outcomes disaggregated by student group, and will impact the knowledge and skills of participating coaches, specialists, and classroom teachers, and provide required information on grantee and LEA activities to AIR, and work with the CDE and AIR to develop interim and final reports. So ultimately, we have the following goals for this project. The grantee will support PL project goals by working with the CDE to build the capacity of LEAs receiving LCRS funds, align all PL offerings to teacher preparation standards and TPEs, the ELA ELD framework, the EL roadmap, the literacy roadmap, and other documents referenced in the RFA. PL opportunities provided by the grantee must also align with the QPLS and support educators to do all of the following. Develop and implement school literacy programs, including dual language immersion and other programs for multilingual learners. Develop and implement school literacy plans with metrics to measure progress toward goals and actions, informed by literacy needs assessment and root cause analysis, and following a model of continuous improvement. Develop the knowledge and skills necessary, including literacy knowledge and leadership skills, to become literacy coaches and/or dual language literacy coaches. Attain the required specialist credential and/or added authorization to become a reading specialist. Attain, if qualified, their bilingual authorization and participate in PL aligned to the Commission's literacy standards and TPEs. Also develop knowledge and skills in literacy instruction, including the implementation of the ELA ELD framework, the EL roadmap, and the literacy roadmap, the development and implementation of culturally sustaining curriculum and instruction, and the use of assessment data to identify and support effective instruction for all students, including struggling students and diverse learners, early learners, multilingual learners, pupils with disabilities, and pupils with dyslexia. Develop knowledge and skills for appropriate identification and use of screening instruments, assessment strategies, and evidence-based literacy instruction aligns to the ELA ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap, including biliteracy instruction for diverse learners. Again, all PL must be aligned to the ELA ELD framework, EL roadmap, and the literacy roadmap. And once more, remember that you will be asked to upload a works cited page as part of the application in order to demonstrate this alignment. Additionally, implements intensive intervention strategies for pupils struggling with literacy, including multilingual learners, such as tutoring and small group strategies and strategies for target pupil groups based on data. And develop and implement family literacy plans that identify literacy and biliteracy goals, benchmarks, activities, and roles for all family members and promote the availability of the State Seal of Biliteracy and the Biliteracy Pathway Program. So to summarize, these are the grantee's overall responsibilities for this grant. The grantee will focus on PL aligned to the ELA ELD framework, the EL roadmap, and the literacy roadmap that supports the goals of the grant by doing the following. Work with the CDE as part of the advisory committee in all aspects of this grant. Align and coordinate supports with the first two LCRS cohorts to ensure coherence throughout all three cohorts. Incentivize LEAs receiving LCRS funds to participate in PL opportunities, including those offered by the CRLP and CWP, and use grant-developed resources to build their capacity. Provide opportunities for interested educators to obtain the required added authorization or specialist credential to become reading specialists, and encourage those that qualify to attain their bilingual authorization. Create and facilitate communities of practice on a frequent basis and in response to LEA needs, such as PL and communities of practice, focusing on the needs of rural LEAs and dual language immersion sites to support LEAs across the state and provide opportunities for LEAs to collaborate and share with each other on topics related to the LCRS-ET. Generate and disseminate PL opportunities aligned to the ELA ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap for educators, including administrators, literacy coaches, and dual language literacy coaches, reading specialists, classroom teachers, paraprofessionals, interventionists, and others as identified across the state, including webinars and other virtual learning opportunities, resources, and statewide literacy conferences in the areas mentioned earlier in this presentation. Ensure all PL opportunities are aligned with the literacy initiatives that are outlined in the RFA and the Commission's literacy standards and TPEs. Follow a communication plan set by the CDE, including monthly meetings, communications, and conference presentations as needed. Ensure that any new instructional and PL materials developed as a result of this grant are available as open educational resources during and beyond the life of the grant. Work with AIR to collect data, analyze it annually, and adjust course as necessary, ensuring that the data collected is disaggregated by student group and reflects progress toward the goals of the project. Other data will include metrics measuring the outcomes of PL opportunities, including quantitative and qualitative measures. And finally, monitor the performance of any services provided through funds awarded under this grant by partners, consultants, or other organizations. Receive and administer the grant funds and submit the required reports to account for the use of grant funds. Generally, all expenditures must contribute to the goals and objectives outlined in the RFA. Funds may not be used for rental of a venue to provide PD unless the expense is determined by the CDE to be a necessary and reasonable expense. Applicant budgets for use of grant funds will be reviewed by the CDE grant reviewers, and any items that are deemed non-allowable, excessive, or inappropriate will be rejected and will impact an applicant's final score. Funds under this grant may not be used for the following purposes: supplanting of existing funding and efforts, acquisition of equipment for administrative or personal use, acquisition of furniture, for example, bookcases, chairs, desks, file cabinets, tables, unless an integral part of an equipment workstation, or to provide reasonable accommodations to students with disabilities. Food services, refreshments, banquets, and meals. Also, purchase of space, payment for memberships in professional organizations, purchase of promotional favors such as bumper stickers, pencils, pens, or t-shirts, subscriptions to journals or magazines, or travel outside the United States. An integral part of the reporting requirements is ongoing communication with the CDE. The grantee will participate in regular meetings with the CDE and participate in all required evaluation activities as requested by the CDE. Quarterly and annual reports will be required. So you will provide an annual report to the CDE on the achievement towards the goals, objectives, and actions described, and an assessment of progress made on the metrics identified in the applicant's program application. The grantee must provide a summary activities in the annual report identifying both individual and collective contributions, including but not limited to student outcome data demonstrating impact on student achievement and adjustments to the plan in response to the data, number of activities accomplished, the impact of these activities on educator capacity, and the number of teachers, paraprofessionals, school leaders, districts, counties, and regions impacted by these activities. If the grantee does not provide the required reports to the CDE, program activities are not completed as agreed upon, there is a lack of participation in meetings, or there is a negative trend in the dissemination of TA, the CDE may halt funding at any time. The applicant selected for funding will receive a grant award notification or an AO 400, the official CDE document that awards funds to local projects. The grantee and fiscal agent must be the same entity. The superintendent of the COE acting as the fiscal agent must sign and return the AO 400 to the CDE before funds are dispersed. Okay, now we'll move into the application process. Okay, so please note the important upcoming deadlines for the LCRSET application. The timeline is subject to change. Refer to the CDE LCRSET webpage for the most up-to-date timeline. But here's what it stands right now. The application is due February 23rd, 2026 before 4 p.m. We anticipate posting the intent to award the week of April 6, 2026. The last day for appeals to be received by the CDE would be the week of April 13th, 2026. The final awards would be posted the week of May 11th, 2026, and then the official project start date is June of 2026. The application will consist of four general types of information. Number one, applicant information. Number two, application narrative. Number three, budget information. And number four, attachments, which includes the works cited, project timeline, budget, and letters of commitment. The lead applicant will receive email confirmation of the information submitted. If changes need to be made, the lead applicant must resubmit the entire application prior to the submission deadline. The last submitted application will be the one considered for review. The CDE is not able to modify the application information after it is submitted, and incomplete or late applications will not be considered. Only fully completed applications will be considered eligible for consideration in advance to the Readers' Conference. A panel of readers selected for their expertise will read, review, and score each eligible application using the scoring rubric. Readers will be instructed to read each proposal in its entirety to get an overall impression of the project and whether it makes sense. Points will be awarded based on completeness and responsiveness of the application to each of the required application components. Interviews with potential grantees may be conducted. All costs associated with the interviews will be the applicant's responsibility. So now on to the application itself. So the application is electronic and available on the CDE LCRS ET RFA webpage. Make sure to carefully read the application instructions located in Appendix A of the RFA. The scoring rubric is valued at a maximum of 180 points. The grant award may not necessarily be made to the application that has the highest score. These scores are advisory to the panelists who will make the final decisions to ensure that the applications meet the goals and requirements of the program. The scoring rubric is valued at a maximum of 180 points. Please review the scoring rubric and the application instructions carefully to ensure you are aware of point values and character counts as they vary by question. The table provides the maximum point values for each section. Note that some items are weighted more than others. So we have first the project plan, theory of action, which is worth 8 points. The project plan, evidence-based practices and qualifications, 80 points. The project plan PL dissemination, 48 points. Alignment, 16 points. Expanding capacity, 8 points. The priority points for the IHE, 12 points. And budget, 8 points for, again, a total of 180. Each rubric response will be scored in the following categories in descending point value: outstanding, strong, partial, and minimal. Some responses are worth more than others, so please pay careful attention to the point values across the top of each rubric section. In each part of the application narrative, applicants should address the prompts and refer to the evaluation rubric. Adhere to the character limit for each question. The survey will not collect data beyond the character limit. Successful applicants must be able to demonstrate that their proposed project is conceptually clear, evidence-based, technically feasible, sustainable, scalable, and leads or contributes to a culture of continuous improvement after the grant period. To complete the narrative, fully address the prompts, refer to the scoring rubric to understand how the responses will be evaluated by the reading panel, follow all application instructions in Appendix A, Application Narrative. You will notice the following terms throughout the scoring rubric. Here is a description of what is meant. These definitions of terms are also listed in the RFA. So we have thorough, includes every part or detail. Convincing, brings to belief. Clear, adequate, of a quality that is good or acceptable, easily understood, includes sufficient detail. Plausible, which is feasible, reasonable, realistic, worthy of belief. Partial, incomplete details or elements essential to program components, leaves the reader with questions. And minimal, with the least amount of detail. So now the questions themselves. We start off with Project 1A, Project Plan Theory of Action, which has only one item and is worth a total of 8 points. So you will articulate a theory of action, which will achieve the goals of the grant to develop and provide training for educators at sites within the third cohort of the LCRS grants to become literacy coaches, dual language coaches, bilingual authorized educators, and reading and literacy specialists, and to provide PL on the allowable activities outlined in AB 121, Section 51. Again, that is worth 8 points. Note that a theory of action is a well-specified conceptual framework that identifies key components of the proposed process, product, strategy, and describes the relationships among the key components and outcomes theoretically and operationally. Project 1B, Project Plan Evidence, I'm sorry, Part 1B, Project Plan Evidence-Based Practices and Qualifications is worth a total of 80 points. It's important to note that Part 1B is organized in two sets of related prompts. So the first prompt of each set provides the opportunity to describe how the proposed PL will increase educator capacity in a particular area and to identify the corresponding evidence base, including the alignment to the ELA-ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap. The second prompt provides an opportunity to specify relevant expertise, experience, and qualifications related to that same area. So our first question, describe how the proposed PL will develop knowledge and understanding of the ELA-ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap, and culturally sustaining reading and literacy instruction, and the acquisition of language for all learners, including all of the following: early learners, EL students and multilingual learners, pupils with disabilities, and pupils with dyslexia. Identify the evidence base for these practices and any proposed materials, as well as how they align with the ELA-ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap. That is worth 8 points. Next, describe the applicant's previous experience and/or expertise in developing and delivering PL for knowledge and understanding of the ELA-ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap, and culturally sustaining reading and literacy instruction and acquisition of language for all learners, including all of the following: early learners, EL students and multilingual learners, pupils with disabilities, and pupils with dyslexia. Specify the relevant qualifications of any proposed consortium members. That is also worth 8 points. Next, describe how the proposed PL will develop knowledge and understanding of assessment data collection and analysis, including screening and data-driven decision-making, using data to identify and support students needing additional support, and how to facilitate conversations about data with educators and administrators. Identify the evidence base for these practices and any proposed materials, as well as how they align with the ELA-ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap. That is worth 8 points. Describe the applicant's previous experience and/or expertise in developing and delivering PL for knowledge and understanding of assessment data collection and analysis, including screening, data-driven decision-making, using data to identify and support students needing additional support, and how to facilitate conversations about data with educators and administrators. Specify the relevant qualifications of any proposed consortium members. Also worth 8 points. Describe how the proposed PL will develop knowledge and understanding of ELA-ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap aligned and culturally sustaining intensive literacy assessments, identification, and provision of interventions, which may include high-impact tutoring for students needing additional support, with a particular focus on EL students and multilingual learners. Identify the evidence base for these practices and any proposed materials, as well as how they align with the ELA-ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap. Also 8 points. Describe the applicant's previous experience and/or expertise in developing and delivering PL for knowledge and understanding of ELA-ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap aligned and culturally sustaining intensive literacy assessments, identification, and provision of interventions, which may include high-impact tutoring for students needing additional supports, with a particular focus on EL students and multilingual learners. Specify the relevant qualifications of any proposed consortium members. Also 8 points. Describe how the proposed PL will increase educator and school leader knowledge of developing and implementing a school literacy plan, including for dual language immersion sites through developing a literacy needs assessment and root cause analysis that is rooted in continuous improvements. Identify the evidence base for these practices and any proposed materials, as well as how they align with the ELA/ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap. Also 8 points. Describe the applicant's previous experience and/or expertise in developing and delivering PL to increase educator and school leader knowledge of developing and implementing a school literacy plan, including for dual language immersion sites through developing a literacy needs assessment and root cause analysis that is rooted in continuous improvements. Specify the relevant qualifications of any proposed consortium members. Also 8 points. Describe how the proposed PL will increase educator and school leader knowledge of developing, implementing, and/or sustaining a family-based literacy and biliteracy initiative aligned to the ELA/ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap, including but not limited to family literacy plans, home visiting programs, extended day, summer, or weekend opportunities, information on earning a state seal of biliteracy or biliteracy pathway recognition, and community partnerships such as public libraries, including but not limited to digital tools. Identify the evidence base for these practices and any proposed materials, as well as how they align with the ELA/ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap. Worth 8 points. And describe the applicant's previous experience and/or expertise in developing and delivering PL to increase educator and school leader knowledge of developing, implementing, and/or sustaining a family-based literacy and biliteracy initiative aligned to the ELA/ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap, including but not limited to family literacy plans, home visiting programs, extended day, summer, or weekend opportunities, information on earning a state seal of biliteracy or biliteracy pathway recognition, and community partnerships such as public libraries, including but not limited to digital tools. Specify the relevant qualifications of any proposed consortium members. Also 8 points. Applicants will also be asked to provide a works cited page that details the evidence base for all PL and strategies mentioned in the project plan. This is not a scored aspect of this application. However, it is still a required part of a complete application. You will upload this at the end of the RFA. Now we are moving on to Part 1C, Project Plan, Professional Learning Dissemination, which is worth a total of 48 points. So you will provide an overview of the evidence-based models and PL providers, including the CRLP and CWP and other experts specializing in multilingual education that the applicant will use in developing literacy coaches, including dual language literacy coaches. You'll identify the evidence base for these practices and any proposed materials and explain how they align with the ELA/ELD framework, EL roadmap, and literacy roadmap. It is worth 8 points. Provide an overview of how the applicant will provide opportunities for interested educators to obtain a reading specialist credential and/or added authorization. Bilingual authorization is 8 points. Provide an overview of how the applicant will use funding to generate and disseminate PL opportunities, including communities of practice, webinars, and/or other virtual learning opportunities and conferences for educators, including those intending to be literacy coaches, including dual language literacy coaches employed by the identified eligible sites as part of the allocation in AB 121. Also 8 points. Describe how the applicant will ensure that the diverse needs of eligible sites are met across the northern, central, and southern regions, including urban, suburban, and rural settings, and communities with diverse student populations, such as small schools and dual language schools, including opportunities for LEAs with eligible sites to collaborate with each other. Also 8 points. Describe the plan for securing participation from eligible sites that received LCRS funds in the proposed PL opportunities for all target participants, including those becoming literacy coaches and dual language literacy coaches, or reading specialists, teachers, administrators, and paraprofessionals, as well as how any anticipated challenges to recruitment will be overcome. Also 8 points. And provide a project timeline for implementation of proposed activities that includes approximate dates for implementation of all major proposed activities, the person or organization responsible for each activity, the expected goal of the activity, and how the effectiveness of the activity will be measured. That is also 8 points, and it will be uploaded at the end of the RFA. Now we move on to part 2, alignments, which is worth a total of 16 points. So applicants will describe how the proposed activities align with the preparation program standards set by the Commission for Literacy and the TPEs, as well as how the activities will expand upon the Commission's work. That is 8 points. Describe how the applicant will ensure alignment, collaboration, and coherence with the supports offered by the LCRS-ET lead for the first 2 LCRS cohorts. That is also 8 points. And then next we have part 3, expanding capacity, which is worth a total of 8 points. Applicants will describe how the applicant's capacity and methods for collecting the quantitative and qualitative measures that will be used to examine the measures defined in Section 2B, Program Requirements, and the plan for analyzing and responding to those measures. That is worth 4 points. Explain how the applicant will ensure that the benefits of the project are sustained beyond the life of the grant so that others may benefit. Also 4 points. And now part 4, priority points, institutions of higher education. That is worth a total of 12 points. So if applicable, describe how the lead applicant will work together to implement proposed activities in a consortium with one or more IHEs. Describe the proposed role, relevant expertise and experience, and applicable qualifications of IHEs, including how their expertise, experience, and qualifications will meet the literacy needs of a wide range of learners, including multilingual learners. That is 4 points. And if applicable, describe how the partner IHEs will support educators in obtaining a reading and literacy added authorization, bilingual authorization, and/or credential. That is worth 4 points. And if applicable, provide letters of commitment addressed to the lead applicant and signed by the dean of the specific department within an IHE. If applicable, also provide letters of commitment addressed to the lead applicant and signed by the COE superintendent of each COE participating in the consortium. That is also 4 points. On to the budget. The budget section has 2 items and is worth a total of 8 points. So a projected 4-year budget is required in the application. Project expenses will be identified using grant funds in the 2025-26 to the 2028-29 fiscal years. The applicant must provide a thorough and detailed justification for each identified cost associated with implementing the proposed initiatives and goals, including why the costs are reasonable and necessary to support the proposal's initiatives and goals. Ensure that the budget is not overly heavy in administrative costs and takes into consideration the cost of educators' time to attend PL, and account for the required funds for a contract with AIR. Both budget items will be attached to the application. Form B is the proposed project budget summary, and Form C is the LCRS-ET project budget narrative. Forms B and C are on separate tabs of one Excel spreadsheet that is included on the RFA webpage. So the rubric items for the budget include completing the LCRS-ET proposed project budget summary, or Form B, including allowable costs for the project's performance period from June 2026 through June 30, 2029. It is worth 4 points. And provide a detailed explanation on the LCRS-ET project budget narrative, Form C, for each line item for each year of a 4-year performance period. The narrative should include a description of how the proposed costs to implement the proposed project are necessary and reasonable in terms of project activities, benefits to participants, and project outcomes. Also worth 4 points. The application budget covers the entire project period from June 2026 through June 30, 2029. You will submit using the provided Excel file template through the online application. The template is available on the LCRS-ET RFA webpage. And it includes the following tabs: the Instructions tab, LEA information, Form B, which is the proposed budget summary, and Form C, the budget narrative for years 1, 2, 3, and 4. That is 4 separate tabs. The proposed budget narrative must include a detailed budget description for each line item within the grant period. It should provide sufficient detail and a breakdown or calculation that justifies each line item. You should group line items by the object code services and provide lines for object code totals. Proposed budget summary must provide totals for each object code and must align with the proposed budget narrative. So you must remember to select the Save Responses button on the online application if you do not intend to complete the application in one session. Once you select the Save Responses button, a page will appear that asks for your email address. You will receive an email with a unique URL or web address for entrance back into the application. Although you should receive the confirmation email, it is recommended that you copy the URL on the application page and save it. This address will allow you to return to your application. At the ends of the online application, applicants will be asked to upload all files requested in a single zip file. The files requested include the works cited page, the forms B and C, proposed budget summary and proposed budget narrative, the project timeline, and letters of commitments as applicable. Remember that all required files are necessary for a complete application. Applicants must save all files, again, in a single zip file because only one file can be uploaded per applicant. No additional information in the zip file will be reviewed. Note that the zip file size limit is 20 megabytes. The superintendent of the COE must agree to Form A Project Statement of Assurances. Applicants do not need to sign and return the general assurances and certifications with the application. Instead, applicants must download assurances and certifications and keep on file and available for compliance reviews, complaint investigations, or audits. And now, congratulations, we have made it to the Q&A session. Thank you so much for sticking with me. I did notice that there were a few questions that Julia answered, so I'll just go ahead and read those off to make sure that everyone has access to them. But do remember that if you have a question, to submit it in the Q&A so that we can get to that. So someone had asked, are COEs permitted to participate in multiple applications? And there is nothing in the request for applications that prohibits this. And what will the process for selecting reviewers be? The CDE will solicit applications for reviewers internally and select reviewers with expertise in literacy and professional learning. So those are the 2 questions that we received. Please take a moment to type any other questions that you may have in the Q&A. Can an authorized organizational representative sign Form A? Julia, that's something that they just keep on file, right?
Is this the general? If it's the general assurances, that one is just on, you keep it on file, as Jen said. Yes, that I just confirming, yes, that is the LCRS ET lead applicant statement of assurances. So whoever is authorized to sign the application, I think that's something you check off when you're filling out that application.
Correct. While y'all are thinking of any other questions that you might have, I did want to skip ahead to the next slide, just in case, any other questions arise. You're thinking about this really exciting presentation that you attended this afternoon later on tonight, and you have questions that pop up that you would like answers to, you can email me. Our grant inbox is plio@cde.ca.gov. So if you have any program questions, please feel free to reach out to me there. And then if you have questions more on the accessing the files side, you can contact Delana Calvetti. Her email is dcalvetti at cde.ca.gov. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us there. Um, but I'm not seeing any others, so I think that we'll go ahead and close out this webinar. Thank you all again so much for spending your afternoon with me, and please do reach out if you have any questions. Thanks.